Hey there, island dreamers, locals, and anyone craving a slice of paradise. Welcome back, or welcome for the first time, to the Fun and Key West podcast, where the vibe is always laid back, the stories are salty, and the drinks, well, they're definitely frozen. I'm your host, Michelle O'Connor, your unofficial tour guide to the Conquered Public. Whether you're planning your first trip, your fifth trip, or you're just daydreaming about trading the cubicle for the ocean breeze, you are in the right place. Here's the deal. This podcast is your insider's guide to all things Key West. We're talking where to eat, hello, conch fritters and key lime pie, where to drink, spoiler alert, there will be rum, where to stay, and all the quirky, wonderful things that make Key West the one-of-a-kind paradise we all love. Plus, we'll keep you up to date on the latest happenings, festivals, events, maybe even the occasional Hemingway lookalike sighting. And just to keep things spicy, we'll be bringing on some amazing guests now and then, locals, business owners, and people who know the island like the back of their sandy hand. So grab your flip-flops, pour yourself a cold one, and let's escape to the island state of mind together, whether you're tuning in from your hammock or your commute, while wishing it was a hammock. We've got all the Key West goodness coming your way. Thanks for being here. It's going to be a lot of fun in Key West. Let's dive in. Hey there, history buffs. Michelle here with Fun in Key West. And today we're rolling back the clock to one of the most fascinating chapters in island history, the Key West cigar boom. Yep, we're talking cigars, hurricanes, and one legendary building that has weathered it all. This week's spotlight, the Martinez Havana Company factory building, an absolute gem for history lovers like us. Not only does this place have a story tied to Key West's rise as a cigar powerhouse, but it was built to survive the wild side of island life. Hello, hurricane. We're diving into its architectural secrets, the heydays of cigar rolling, and a few fun facts you can drop at your next cocktail party, because who doesn't love a little trivia with their mojito? Grab your coffee, pull up a chair, and join me for an educational and entertaining, I promise it's entertaining, walk through Key West's cigar-studded past. This is an episode you don't want to miss. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Historic Marker Monday. I am Michelle with Fun in Key West, and today we are exploring the Martinez Havana Company factory building. It's still in Key West. It's a commercial building, and I think it's a place that I think deserves to have a conversation about and have a little bit of a history lesson about Key West and the impact of the cigar industry on Key West. So when we look at how Key West's economy has rolled through the decades and over the last centuries, we had the wreckers and we had cigars and we had tourism and sponging, and through every evolution, there has been an impact on the island. The cigar industry is absolutely no different from that. Cigar manufacturing in Key West was an absolute major industry on the island in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The first factory that produced cigars in Key West was founded in 1831, and this is going to be by a very familiar name, by William H. Fall. And in 1831, he employed about 50 workers in his factory. By the late 1800s, Key West became a hub for Cuban cigar makers who fled political turmoil from Cuba, but they wanted to keep that cigar-making craft alive. And at its peak, believe it or not, Key West had over 150 cigar factories, producing over 100 million cigars a year. Wow, just wrap your head around that. 2x4 island with 150 cigar factories, and all of those cigars being made in Key West. The Martinez Havana Company factory building was built by Don Luis Martinez, and he was a prominent cigar manufacturer. And there was a massive hurricane that came through the Keys in 1909. And after that hurricane, there was the need to rebuild the cigar factory. And he was a Cuban, and so Martinez was a Cuban immigrant. and he wanted to keep the cigar manufacturing alive in Key West, and he decided to rebuild after the hurricane. And he designed the building keep in mind, this is in 1909. He designed the building to be hurricane proof to protect the workers and production from any future storms that may have occurred. The building has concrete or cinder blocks walls and limited windows because of the glass and all of that. And brand that he made in this factory was called Fleur de Lis, which became well known in Key West. And I guess if you are a cigar aficionado, you know this brand. So if we look at the architecture of this building, because that's what we sometimes focus on in Historic Marker Mondays, this building was designed with durability in mind. Many of the large cigar factories at the time had were large, multi-story brick buildings, and they had wide windows for ventilation. And so he designed his building with those concepts in mind, but also trying to put in place things that would make it absolutely safe for the workers and to continue manufacturing. The building would have housed a large number of cigar rollers, and they worked in rows. And if you get a chance to explore some of the places in Key West that show the old photos of the cigar manufacturing places, you can see the tables and everybody set up rolling the cigars. If you head over on Patrick Street, you can then head over and see the cigars still being hand rolled in several places in Key West. Also, a lot of these factories had a lector. This is a person who read the newspapers and books and political speeches out loud and entertained the workers while they were rolling the cigars. So imagine that's your job. You are there to read and to entertain so that it's not so monotonous to a lot of these cigar rollers. The cigar industry in Key West created thousands of jobs. If you can think about the fact that they had 150 factories at the peak, think how many people were actually employed. You had the cigar rollers, you had the box makers, you had the factory workers, you had the people who packaged them. And then if you study economic development, you then had all those other companies that were created to support those workers. You had the neighborhood stores, you had the bakeries, you had the restaurants, you had all of those that had to support the people who worked at the factory. So this industry brought a lot of prosperity to the island. As you study the cigar industry in Key West, it also brought a lot of conflict. There were labor strikes because workers demanded better pay and better conditions, and who blames them? And then over time, there was a lot of competition coming from the north out of Tampa. And you have Tampa's Ybor City, and it had better transportation to better distribute the cigars. And they were able to overtake and become the cigar manufacturing place in Florida. And so cigar manufacturing declined in Key West because a lot of them just simply relocated to Tampa because of the ease, and it was easier to get people and it was easier to get supplies in. But the history of the cigar manufacturing in Key West still remains. You can see the buildings and you can see the impact that it had on Key West. Even though all of the cigar manufacturing stopped pretty much and moved to Tampa, there is this building, and you can look at it as that historical landmark. When you're out looking around at these buildings, look at not only what they are today, but look at what they could have been and what they were at the peak. And you'll understand the influence that cigar industry or sponging or crackers had on Key West. So here's a little fun fact. Did you know by 1890, Key West was producing more hand-rolled cigars than Havana? Yep, and the term clear Havana was used for cigars that were made with Cuban tobacco but rolled in Key West or Tampa. Pretty cool, huh? That's a little bit of trivia for you the next time you're out and about. I always encourage people as you're walking around Key West, first and foremost, get off of Duval. Second, stop and look at these historic markers. They tell the story of not only the house, but the time in which that house was built and what was happening on the island at the time. And it really puts in perspective all of the influences that have made Key West what it is today and why we love the island so much. As you're planning your trips or just wishing you could be in Key West, I want you to head over to FunInKeyWest.com. Sign up for our newsletter. How do I do that, Michelle? Well, you grab our happy hour list and that gets you on our newsletter. To the best of my ability, I send that out every Friday and with updates on what we talk about over the week on these Facebook Lives, but also links to interesting content that I put out there. Also, I have a Throwback Tuesday series that you can be part of, which throws back you to content that was very popular in the year before that. And so lots of information that might spark something. Maybe it's a cocktail recipe, maybe it's something about the history of Key West, or maybe it's just a location that you haven't tried for a while. Also, if you get a chance and want to have more information, be sure to sign up for our book club. We are winding down on February's book of the month, which was The Last Train Out of Key West. And this one focuses on the Labor Day hurricane and the stories. And it's been really cool, all of the interaction that we're having on that. If you would like to be part of our book club, let me know. Send me a message, put a comment down below, say, hey, Michelle, I want to be in the book club. That is a wrap for today's episode of Historic Marker Monday. You guys have a great one, and we will talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in and letting me take you on a stroll through Key West's cigar-filled past. How amazing is it to think about a time when this little island was rolling out more cigars than Havana? The Martinez Havana Company factory building is just one of the many fascinating reminders of how Key West's history is tightly packed, yep, pun intended, with industry, resilience, and stories waiting to be explored. So what did we talk about? Key West was once the cigar capital, boasting over 150 factories and making 100 million cigars a year. Mind blown, right? The Martinez Havana building, built to take a hurricane head-on and keep cigar production alive. Somebody gave Don Luis Martinez a round of applause for thinking ahead. And by 1890, more cigars were hand-rolled in Key West than in Havana. Bet that little fact will win you trivia night. Want to know more? The full story plus all the resources to plan your visit to Key West's deliciously historic sites are waiting over at FunInKeyWest.com. Trust me, it's a rabbit hole you'll want to fall into. Now don't forget to sign up for the Fun in Key West newsletter. Why? Because it's packed with insider tips, weekly updates, and even more gems about this quirky side of paradise. And rumor has it there's a happy hour list you won't want to miss. Just head over to FunInKeyWest.com, grab the list, and you will thank me later. Before you go, like this episode if you've officially added Key West History Geek to your resume. Share it with your history-loving friends or any traveler planning their Key West adventure. And let me know your favorite historic marker or fun fact. You know, I love hearing from you. Thanks for spending time with me. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep loving all things Key Westy.